Welcome to the Orlando Sentinel's editorial board interview for the GOP primary in Florida's 11th congressional district, which covers parts of Orange and Lake County. The incumbent, Dan Webster, is one of the longest-serving members in Florida history. John McCloy, a Mount Dora scientist, is challenging him to face a Democratic challenger in December. Mr. Webster's declined to join us, but we'll spend some time getting to know McCloy, and we'll dive right in with questions. Mr. McCloy, a majority of Americans in both major parties see the economy as the number one issue, and a lot of them say that they trust Republicans more than they do Democrats on the issue. How do you respond to that?
So, good afternoon, and thank you for having me here. Yes, I do believe the Republicans have the better solution for the economy, and my particular background in the energy industry, as you mentioned. I was a scientist in the oil industry for over 20 years. And when you look at the economy, a key part is our problem with inflation. And a component of that is energy prices, both the cost of fuel for the vehicles and electricity for homes. And that contributes to inflation, both what the family can see as your gas bill every month is high, your electricity bill for your house is high, but also those increased costs are in the products and services that we use every day. So the manufacturing of goods is increased because electricity at the factories is increased, and the cost of getting goods to the market, the transport costs are increased because of the fuel. So with my background in energy, I think I can support President Trump and the Republican policies on reducing energy costs, and that is a significant component of inflation. And if we can reduce inflation, the economy is spurred.
Great, thank you for that answer. This sort of ties into what you were saying, but kind of specifically. Among those who lack faith that the nation's economy has recovered, a lot point to increasing consumer costs like housing and fuel, as you mentioned, and insurance and consumer goods and food. And those costs are often cited as a major concern. What steps should Congress take to give families a break?
So we need to tackle the causes of the increase in the costs of those goods. For housing, for example, all those material costs, as I mentioned, the inflation impact on the cost of materials that make up a new construction home, and also the labor to build. And so we need to dissect that. And then for housing, especially in Florida, there's the insurance costs. And so we have a homeowners insurance crisis and for Florida, and we need to get more competition into the insurance market. And because the premiums, they're having to cover catastrophic events when the rebuild cost of the new homes is now much increased. So that affects your monthly premium. So we need to focus on the individual components to for each of the sectors of the economy to get that inflation down.
So I'll ask the next question. Defense spending currently takes up a little more than 13% of the federal budget. In your opinion, is that excessive, not enough, or about right?
So I would say it's about right, but we need to be smarter in how we spend our defense dollars. And so America has always been the arsenal democracy, but we don't need to be the point of the spear for every fight around the world. And then also within the Department of Defense, and my background as a Army veteran and a Army contractor, there's a lot of waste. And so we need to get better efficiencies in streamline corporate processes for on how we spend defense dollars. Everything from research and development to operations and maintenance of our forces. So we need to be smarter, but not necessarily spend more.
Thank you for that answer. I will pivot to a new topic and talk about health insurance. About 11% of Floridians lack health insurance, which is far above the national average. And many people think that's almost entirely due to the Florida leaders' refusal to expand to Medicaid. Do you think it's time to allow very low-income Floridians to buy into the healthcare marketplace, or do you see other opportunities for healthcare?
So, talking to the district, as I've been campaigning, the number one issue with the voters as far as healthcare is access to healthcare, and also to include mental health. And currently, the bureaucracy of the health insurance industry prevents access to the appropriate care that's needed. And so there is a lot that can be fixed and improved in just how the healthcare insurance industry with the healthcare providers brings that healthcare to the actual individuals. And so, and yes, for the low income people, they need to have a solution for healthcare.
The next question is going to be about abortion. What congressional action, if any, would you support on abortion access?
So I'm pro-life. I'm a Christian. I believe in the sanctity of life, and society should not harm the baby. And my views are in line with the Republican. It should be left to the states. And so, you think what issues does the federal government need to be handling in that issue can be at the state level.
Thank you. And thanks for putting up with my technical difficulty.
Sorry.
I wanted to follow that question and ask, is it time for federal law to recognize the rights of LGBTQ plus citizens? I know that this is a very controversial topic with Republicans as a party, but with individual Republicans, not so much. So where do you stand on that?
So there's federal laws against discrimination, and the whole premise behind our America is about freedom and liberty, and so there should not be discrimination, but there's existing laws handling that.
The next question will be about immigration. So immigration policies provide a stark contrast between the parties, at least in the minds of the American people. Can you sum up your stance on immigration, including any changes you think are needed in the law or in funding for enforcement?
Yeah, so immigration is probably the second most important issue that voters are concerned about after the economy. So, and the current situation with immigration is a total disaster at the moment. So what is happening at the southern border? And so the first step is we need a secure border. Whatever it takes, a wall, a fence, increased agents, electronic surveillance with newer technology, whatever it takes to control the border, to secure it, and so we understand the people that are coming across. And then for the immigrants that are in the country that have come in, we need to have the adequate resources from immigration judges to border patrol agents and immigration officials to handle their individual cases in a timely manner. So they don't need to be waiting around years to have their asylum cases heard. And so, America has always been kind of the beacon of freedom and democracy around the world. And we've always provided asylum for those seeking political prosecution. But we need to have ways where we can screen out the economic opportunist. And then also for people that are trying to come and get a work visa, that we need to have ways where we can screen, do a background check so we can not allow criminals in the country. So but America benefits from immigration. 5% of the U.S. armed forces are immigrants. Additional 7% are second-generation immigrants. So 12%, 1 out of 8 armed force service members are immigrants, and they contribute much to society, but we need to have legal immigration with a secure border.
Thank you. I wanted to talk for a little bit about Florida's very unique status as being considered on the front lines of global climate change. Certainly, we are seeing in many Florida cities sunny day flooding. We are seeing eroding coastlines and even inland significant impacts from the changes that are going on. Without getting into the causes of this, because that's a matter of debate as well. Where would you be pushing Congress to go on this issue?
So for the energy aspect, electricity power generation, we need affordable, reliable, and ever cleaner energy. But I'm a believer in rooftop solar, but I don't think, as you see along like Interstate 20, cutting down trees to have solar farms is not the best use of that agriculture. A wilderness set aside or farming would probably be the best. And from way back in the college days, anytime that we build a Walmart or a development, every time you pave over that huge parking lot, that water from rainfall has to go somewhere else. So we need the proper architectural landscaping designs and other environmental measures as we develop. So as the suburbs continue to expand and District 11 becomes a large suburban household community, we have to have wilderness areas, floodplain runoffs to handle normal weather conditions. And so we have to be smart in how we develop, and we have to be smart in how we develop transportation networks, and we have to be smart in how we develop electricity and energy providing.
Thank you. And I just also wanted to follow up. One of the solutions to that would help Florida's insurance crisis as well is to develop a national catastrophic fund. That would help states other than Florida as well, because we're seeing all kinds of natural disasters on the increase, flooding, droughts, fire, windstorms, earthquakes. Almost every state has something. Do you think it's time for a national catastrophic fund that would spread that risk nationwide?
Ideally, no, because the best solution would be a more competition in the insurance market. So if you have many insurance companies and only 5% of individual insurance companies' policies are in Florida and the other ones are in other states, then they are able to accommodate a disaster in Florida or any particular state and still have policies paying the premiums from the unaffected states. And so you have a large enough pool of policies that you can handle the disasters in specific regions and areas. And the problem is when you have a condition where all the insurance companies are pulling out of the state, then the ones that are left are overexposed. So ideally, the private sector can best provide the solution to that. But I understand the solution you propose at a national level, but that would be less ideal. The government, anytime a government gets involved, it's less efficient. And remember, when there's a disaster and a premium, a claim is made, somebody has to pay for that rebuild. And it's usually all the policyholders and spread out amongst everybody.
Thank you very much. we have so many more questions we could ask, but we have kind of reached the time that we had allocated for this interview, and I didn't want to keep you longer than we had promised. However, I'm going to ask you to make a closing statement, but before we do that, I'd like to remind our readers that while we will be making an endorsement in this race, we do encourage our readers to take a look at both your social media and your opponent's social media websites, statements to the press, history, and just make a decision on which candidate best fits your values in this Republican primary. It is always best to take your information from multiple sources and then make sure that you get out and vote on August 20th. And with that, Mr. McCloy, would you like to give us your 2-minute pitch on why voters should choose you?
Yeah, thank you very much. My career over 20 years has been as a scientist in the oil industry, and I'm also a combat veteran, serving in both Iraq and Afghanistan, decorated, retired as lieutenant colonel. I'm new to politics, and I believe more good people need to run for office because I believe in term limits, and we don't need politicians to just go up to Washington and stay. They need to be answerable to the constituents, and I believe I will be showing up to the votes as when I'm elected. I'll be holding town halls to get the constituents' feedback. I'll be supporting veteran issues, and I'll be fighting for conservative Republican values along with other members of Congress, and I'll be vocal. And with my background and expertise, I'll be leading on energy policy issues in support of President Trump and his energy policies. And thank you very much for the time. And I have additional details on my campaign website, McCloyforcongress.com, and also on my campaign Facebook page. I also have posts relevant on issues. And I'm also on LinkedIn if you want to look at my professional background to check on anything. Thank you all very much, and I appreciate the time you all had given me.
Thank you so much.